Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, we are talking about bullying and also body image issues and other things that teens have to deal with, and quite frankly, adults too. We're living in very different times, and a lot of people feel they're bullied, especially with social media. So I'm very excited to have on my guest today. She is an author, speaker, and podcaster, and also the founder of the Blatantly Honest Foundation, which addresses these issues. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and welcome my guest, Michaela Nichols. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here, chat with you. Love everything that you're doing. So thanks.
Oh, well, thank you. So tell us your story. What led to this? Because you're a young woman and you have just blown up because of what you're doing. And it's amazing.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I don't know how much time you got. It is a long story, my friend.
Let's hear it.
I guess it all started when I grew up modeling. So there, for the people that are watching a video, you can see there's a cutout of me behind me.
Yes.
And that is 14-year-old Michaela. I promise I'm not a narcissist. I just think it's kind of funny because people always ask. I'm like, this is her. This is what started it all. So 14-year-old Michaela was new to the fashion industry. I had signed with one of the top agencies you could sign with. I was the youngest person on their board, so I was in a really awesome position. They're like, oh my God, like she could be the next, I'm not even going to say a name, but whomever, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, in order to do that, you have to weigh a certain amount. And little 14-year-old Michaela that's 5'10" went to Google, as one does, and types in, how to lose weight fast. And that's what I did. And, I'm not even going to repeat what came up because, if you really want to look, people can look. And I did that. And I developed both anorexia and bulimia. I don't want to get ahead of your questions, but it all kind of started because of the modeling. And then because I was dealing with the peers and there was bullying going on because I was going after this dream that I had. And then, I was sexually assaulted by this guy because now the weird looking Michaela was kind of hot because she was a model. And because I was a model, now guys wanted me. And so, I had to deal with sexual assault on top of it all at 14. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was not great. And I just decided I had one of two choices. I could be done with life or I could do something about it. And I decided to write a book. So
That's amazing. And so the book is called Blatantly Honest. And tell us more about that book.
Yeah, so Blatantly Honest, Normal Teen, Abnormal Life came out when I was 18. I wanted to just name it Blatantly Honest, but this is so funny. I've never said this in an interview before, but they're like, no, it needs something more, like normal teen, abnormal life. And anyway, so we stuck with that. But the book came out when I was 18, right? And it was great. It was literally I didn't think I was going to write a book. That was not my thing. I was like, I'm just going to be a model and that's going to be that. And then, I had these really dark thoughts and something, I don't know what it was. I think it was personally God. If people don't believe in God, that's all right. But for me, it was something inside me, some higher voice was like, Michaela, go write. And I did.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, 50,000 words later, we had a book. It came out. I was like, I'm doing this. And I told my parents and my dad's like, yeah, let's find a publisher. And it was so funny. There was this one publisher we had known and he's like, well, I'll take a look at your daughter's book, whatever. And he's like, holy crap. This is actually a book. And yeah, it kind of just started like that.
That's extremely impressive. At 18, most people are at that age are looking at colleges, getting drunk illegally, obviously, trying to,
yeah,
you had so much on your plate to begin with. And then just to write a book, that's an amazing talent, gift from God too,
Definitely. Yeah, it was an interesting gift to find. I think it was I had to go through a lot of garbage to find that gift. But it was in there all along, I just didn't realize I had it. So.
Well, that was probably pretty therapeutic for you to be able to tell your story so blatantly, honestly, and not have anything to hide. Because I think a lot of people go through certain things and they're ashamed of it, whether it's the way they grew up or if they were harassed or bullied or sexually assaulted, and they hide it in them, which eats away at them, and they don't want people to find out. And this must have been such a, just a, this is me, this is my story. Just, it's like a weight off your shoulder. It must have felt like.
It was. I mean, I say writing saved my life because it did. I felt like I was going through this alone. And I mean, the reason I wrote the book was not because I wanted it to be about me. It was because, you know, I'm an only child and I didn't have a big brother or sister or little brother or sister to talk to about this. It was just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, especially, you know, talking about my sexual assault of all things, and like, you know, I wanted to wait till marriage, all that kind of stuff. Obviously,
Yeah.
it didn't happen. You know, I felt alone, and I thought, you know, obviously I have amazing parents, like they're absolutely incredible, but you're right, you do feel that sense of shame. You feel that sense of, I can't be honest about this because of how people are going to react. And I lived my life that way for a year, and it really destroyed me. I mean, it made me consider the worst, but writing saved my life. It helped me get through the times that I needed to get through and help others. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many, you know, teens and other people going through this. So let's talk about bullying. Did that not start for you until you entered the modeling industry, or did you experience it prior?
Oh, I experienced it prior. So growing up, I went to a private school. I had,
Mm-hmm.
you know, privileged lifestyle, you know, amazing parents, like I said, a roof over my head, went to this private school. And, you know, these were the kind of kids that you hear about in the movies. They all like get brand new car, like Audis and whatever for their birthday, convertibles, like just random stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was not brought up that way. Because, you
Yeah.
know, my parents did not instill that in me. They're like, oh, you want a car, you're gonna work for it and you're gonna get a Ford. And I love my Ford.
Yes.
My mom SUV car, love is to death.
Yeah. Good for you.
But right, yeah, right. But before that, just to kind of set the tone of those kids, it was like if someone had an experience that they could not have access to, oh man, like it was like game over. So, you know, I was able to, my dad was involved with different sports stuff. So I could, you know, go sit at the courtside seats at some games and stuff. And it was never like, you know, boasted, but these kids would hear about it and they're like, oh my God, like Michaela thinks she's better. Like, let's exclude her, make her feel worse because my parents couldn't give me that.
Oh
And then,
my
you know,
gosh.
obviously I was taller than all the guys, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all the guys, you know, hit puberty later. So there's Michaela Nichols, taller than all the guys. They're like, oh, was Michaela Nichols a boy? Then when puberty came around, like, you know, all the girls are getting their womanly curves. Well, I never did because I was modeling and I was like anorexic and, you know, I didn't really develop. Still, I'm still waiting for, you know, the curves to come in, but this is
Well, you could
um,
buy the curves on the top.
yeah,
Yeah, I did
I
that.
know, right? I'm very much thinking about buying the curves on the top, but yeah, it, but yeah, people are like, is Michaela a boy? Like, she kind of looks like a boy.
My
Um,
gosh.
Kids were just not nice to me. I don't know if it's just like my aura and they're like, let's just take this kid down kind of thing. But I was always self-conscious because I was always a kid that was left out, excluded for either my looks, for the opportunities that came through my life, or I don't even know. Kids were just mean to me.
Well, obviously it boils down to jealousy,
Yes.
you know. So how did
That's
you
what I
learn? Yeah, how did you learn how to address that? Because that never goes away. You focus on the teen aspect of it in your book, but it kind of follows us through our whole life. And so how do you deal with that?
And I think not to be like, oh, we're women and women can be, but honest to God, I think women can be the absolute worst when it comes to jealousy. Like jealousy, oh, I got to be better than her because XYZ, like I need the attention. And, you know, I love all my women. So all my girls out there, like empower other women
Yes.
because there's no point in trying to, you know, steal someone else's crown. Totally forgot what your question was because I just went off in my tangent, but
It was about the jealousy and how you kind of deal and cope with it.
thank you. Thank you.
No
So yeah,
problem.
I was like, I don't know where I'm going. The jealousy aspect, like you just have to realize, and I think it all boils down to comparison. So comparison, someone once said, is the thief of joy.
Oh,
Um, you
yeah.
you can't compare yourself to others. And if you do, that's where jealousy comes from. And
Mm-hmm.
people are always going to find something to be jealous about. So I've found that by being kind of like private and quiet, like I want my success to speak for itself without me having to do so. Because it's like that, the good you do should define you and not like the status you have acclaimed. So.
Absolutely, very well said. So when you have somebody who's bullying you or is jealous of you in the industry, because you're in a tough business, because you're still a model,
Mhm.
and as much as they've made changes and a different version of a woman is accepted now, there's still got to be this cutthroat competition that is insane. Like, how do you kind of tune that out?
It's very hard. It is not easy. It's something that I still struggle with. I mean, I personally don't follow other models unless they're my friends on Instagram because it is so psychological. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of these girls, like that is their entire career, which is fantastic for them. And it's unfortunate in the sense that they're like, this is my livelihood, blah, 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 blah. I can't be your friend because, you're my competition. And it's sad. It shouldn't be that way. It should be more like, hey, like maybe this client would like you better and, let me introduce you to this person. Unfortunately, it's not a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm very selective of who I work with just because, like I said, I had the eating disorders. I was anorexic, I was bulimic, and I'm not going to put my body through what I used to do. And I know plenty of girls who put their bodies through things that they should never do. In order to get a job. And I understand, money is a thing, but it should not cost you your health. Um,
Absolutely.
and so it's a very interesting industry, but if you can put your foot down and say, I will only work with XYZ, and if you want to be my friend and like not, going to stab me in the back, then great. But if not, you got to be careful.
No, absolutely. Do you think that the modeling industry will ever change, like fully kind of do a 180 and start putting normal sized people into the ads to where you guys don't have to like ruin yourselves just to shoot a cover?
Great question. So you can tell I'm kind of speechless because I wish that that were true. Um, and I think there's been a lot of movement. But if you notice, like what I've noticed at least, is that everyone and their brother is going to do it at one time. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like crickets. And then,
Yeah.
you see one thing, crickets. So they're trying to appease the image. However, the standards are still there and there's still so much back talk. And now it's like, the people that are on OnlyFans, and now you got the fashion industry competing with OnlyFans, with Instagram, with like, it's just so mind blowing. And now it's like, if you don't have every single size, then that's awful. But it, it is just the industry is on its head right now, to say the least. And I'm very happy. I have other sources of revenue, and I found my purpose that is outside of that
Mm-hmm.
because it is a scary business to be in right now.
Yeah, it's got to be, especially those girls that like only have that one thing. And did you see the documentary on HBO called Fake Famous?
No,
You
I
gotta
I
watch
heard
it.
of it. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, it was good. So it's Fake Famous. It was on HBO, and they auditioned thousands of people, and it was about Instagram. And they selected these three different people, and two were guys, one was a girl. And it was like they sent them through this kind of whole thing. They were buying a lot of bot accounts, which most big Instagram accounts actually have. But the bots, they're so well, I guess like the way they're designed or the algorithm is so good because they would follow you, then they would like your posts, and then if you were up for like a company wanted to have you do an endorsement for them and they would pay you for the post, companies would obviously go through a program and
Mhm.
then figure out what the bots were, but they weren't being caught. So essentially what it was kind of saying is like you create this illusion and how your life changes when you're famous, but you're not really famous. Like there's no talent. You know, it's just this whole Instagram thing. And it's like had all the statistics of like how many people, like I think it was like 40 million people have 1 million followers or something like that. Like it was insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just how it can really mess with your head. And that some people wanted to walk away. The girl ended up getting all this free stuff and wanted to continue, but it's like it becomes that addiction. And it's all about what you look like versus like who you are.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it.
And I'm sure like your friends who, or peers who are on Instagram, when they're making posts, do they have to do a post every day? There's got to be some sort of like, they have to, based on their contract, right? Because I assume there's a contract involved and all this.
There's like, technically I'm supposed to post like 3 times a day, every day. Now,
What?
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah, granted, I don't have a contract, so I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I
Yeah.
personally like the story feature. Like, I'm like, oh, like here's me, like golfing earlier. Like I said, I was out golfing. I'm like, oh, here's I was on the golf course. But
Mhm.
I'm not gonna post a stagnant picture every day, 3 times a day. Like, number one, it's COVID time. I'm not out to produce this content unless you want to see like me in each room of my house doing something. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of them, it's like they will go places and get dressed up just for these photos all the time. And it's like everything is a production. Like if we didn't Instagram it, it didn't happen. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, can't we just be in each other's presence? Or is it like, we can't live without our phone? And I don't know. People just don't know how. My other tangent is people do not know how to interact with one another without this thing. Crazy.
I know. I've been trying to, when I'm out to dinner, I'm older than you, but like I will put my phone away. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how people your age, because they've grown up on it.
Yeah.
So they're not as aware, and they're keeping up with the Joneses, so to say, with the Instagram shit. Like, are you doing something cooler than me? Where are you? Where are you traveling?
Yeah.
But I've just found that you just create a better environment, like, or even just leaving your phone at home. But I remember I wasn't posting as much during COVID. I would post stuff on the podcast and things like that. I put on some weight, my highlights weren't done. I was like, I'm not taking pictures of this shit. I
Yeah.
didn't look bad, but I just didn't feel great. And so I wasn't, and then it kind of just parlayed into, if it's a good picture, I'll take it, or post it. But then it just became exhausting.
It's exhausting. And then it's like, you got to come up with the right caption, the right hashtag,
Oh
the
my
right. It's just like, can I not? Like, I just, quite frankly, if I'm going to post, I'm like, oh, I took this like 2 years ago because I was going through my Instagram or my camera roll and deleting things and I came across, like that's what I
That's
would.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But like this whole content chasing thing, mind blowing. I don't get it.
So do you have, and one of the other things in that documentary is if you had a certain amount of followers or a certain type of look, you would get selected to go on these Instagram trips.
Treats. Yeah.
So they would pick the girls up, they would bring a suitcase of clothes, and then they would drive on a bus. And of course, nobody's talking to each other. They're just staring at their phones and what they're going to do, because they don't want to be friends. They just want to get their content. And they would drive to different places. Like they drove to the middle of the desert. They drove to an abandoned gas station. They drove like really ugly places, but made for a really cool Instagram shot. And then they went to Vegas, and it was the craziest thing, because you're realizing people are doing things they wouldn't normally do to get like the Instagram shot. Like I follow some models on Instagram. I'm at that point now in my life where I'm confident with myself to where it's not a comparison thing. It's just like, oh, I like the way she does her makeup,
Yeah.
or I like that she's very pretty,
Yeah.
But yeah, I can imagine for somebody that's your age, how just unhealthy it really is.
And to piggyback off that, it's very unhealthy. I mean, I loved when Instagram took off like how many likes, because there's like a song, and I think it's by the
Wait,
Chainsmokers.
they didn't take it off.
They didn't? Is it back? You can see the likes on it.
When did they ever take it off?
So not on your personal photos. So like if you go onto Instagram, right, and you like type in Michaela Nichols, right, does it tell you how many
Well,
likes?
so yeah, so I'm
But
on, I just clicked,
something, go ahead.
I just clicked on a friend and I can see that this person had 28 people like it.
That's weird. So like this is some random account, right? It says liked by blank and others.
I wonder if you have an upgraded version.
Maybe.
But
I don't
let's
know.
talk about that because that's a key thing because people were
Yeah.
losing their mind if they didn't have a photo that was enough likes, and then they would take it down. Like if they posted it because they really liked it.
Yeah. There's literally that chain smoker song comes in my head, and like one of the lines is like, how many likes is my life worth? And I'm like, oh my God. Like that is like the most horrific but genius line I've ever heard in a song. And like
Yeah.
that is what Instagram is. I mean, how many likes is my life worth? Like what, 3 people liked it, so my life isn't worth anything? Like, but if 1 million people liked it, it's just, I mean, and even like as a model now, your Instagram number matters. When you go to a casting, it's not, hey, do your eyebrows look cool? Do you have good lips? Like, no, it's like, oh yeah, do you have both those things? But how many followers do you have? And the
Yeah.
fashion industry never like that. Never like that. But now, thanks to Instagram influencers, it's like that. And it's like, am I here to wear your clothes the way you want them seen? Or am I here, if you want, 1 million follower chick over here, go for it. But I don't know. I don't get it. It's just
Well,
annoying.
it's not just the modeling industry. It's all of entertainment now.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with this thing where you actually have people being cast in movies who just have a lot of followers. They're not talented. I'm sure some will become talented, but it really is based on like your follower. I'm more on the producing side now, and I'm could never be happier because I'm like, oh God, I can hide and create amazing content and let people be the face if that's what they want to be. It's too much
I
pressure.
It is. And the whole thing now, I feel like when I started posting real content about the stuff that I'm proud of, about the foundation, about my speaking engagements, boom, likes, followers dropped. But if I'm posting Michaela that used to post on her, like, because I used to do like swimwear kind of stuff, if it was
Mhm.
swimwear, oh my God, everyone and their brother, like, comment, DMs, reposts, all that. But I post, a podcast. Now I put them on my stories because people they're not interacting the way that they should be because they'd rather see the naked chick than, like, I don't know.
No,
Don't get it.
and it's a crazy world that social media has a lot of amazing benefits. So many people have reconnected, have caught up with old friends and just found things or you know what I'm saying. I can't even speak. But then there's this very, very dark side, which is the majority of it. And people like myself, like I can't really get off of it, right? So if I was in finance, if that would be the first thing I would do. I would get rid of all the social media and constantly call and reach out to my friends via text versus
Mhm.
looking at their life. I want to hear about their life versus like looking at it. But there was a point I was going to make and I just had a brain for it, and I'm not that old yet. But
You're
what is it? What was it? The story?
fine.
Huh?
Story. The story. I was going to try to help you go back in time and
I
like
know.
recreate. Uh, but the story feature I like because like people can swipe up. But then again, Instagram did this wonky thing. If you have like under 10,000 followers, people can't swipe up. So
Yes, it has been that way. But do you get approached from a lot of, I was going to talk about DMs.
okay, yep.
DMs are a big thing. I luckily really I only get DMs from like people being like, "Do you want to grow your Instagram account?" And I'm like, "Screw yourself. I know you're fake." No, I don't. I don't want to grow it that way, right?
Yeah.
Um, but people like you must get a lot of guys, just sketchy ass guys that are like, "Hey, like how do you deal with that?"
Oh man, this is like gonna sound so sick, but like it's so comical to me. Like if someone says something that is just like, I'm all for shooting your shot, but do it in a respectable way. Like, don't talk to me like I am walking down the street and you know what I mean? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
like they expect, like if they say the dirty, nasty thing and like, on the road, you can kind of get away from it. You're like, all right, I can just ignore it. But like now it's sitting in my thing. I see it. It irks me because number one, you're disrespecting me.
Yeah.
Two, you should never talk to a woman that way or man that way ever. Like we're not, I don't know. Or if they send a picture or anything, like I sometimes embarrass these guys because you should be called out. Like maybe you
Yeah.
have a wife at home, maybe you have whomever. And if you're going to message me and say X, sure, I'll put you on my story. You're going right up on my story too. Look at this guy. Look at this idiot that just said something stupid.
Good for
It's like,
you.
yeah, I'm like, stop. Like I am not an object for you to, God knows what you're doing looking at my photos. Like that's creepy. Don't be a creep. Um, if you want to
Yeah.
shoot your shot, do it. Send an email and say, hi, I just wanted to say you're awesome. And I really appreciate that. I'm passionate about that. But like, obviously I wouldn't probably respond anyway, but approach it better. It's a weird age. It's a weird time to be alive, to say the least.
It really is, right? Because you always hear like a lot of these athletes will reach out to, these models on Instagram, and that's how they start dating
Mhm.
or they connect or whatnot. I'm like, that is so weird. I'm like, maybe I look like shit on Instagram because this stuff doesn't happen to me. I'm like, what's going on here?
Rare. Like, I think the new thing is Raya. I don't know if you've heard of Raya.
What was Raya?
It's like
Uh,
it's like Tinder, but I have a Raya.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
but you have to be. I didn't get accepted, and
Ah,
I was on the wait list. So
yeah.
finally, it was like a year and a half ago. So finally, I said, "Screw this," when I was out. But like Ray,
Right? It's
who's on there?
everyone that is, I don't know, the people that get it's like it's a lot of athletes and a lot of like celebrity type or like very artsy, like interesting people. I'm on it to like make friends. Like there's a thing that you can click for friends, but no one respects that. So that's like the newest way to DM like for those specific people. But like, I mean, if I, Channing Tatum, right? Love Channing Tatum. Like I
Yeah,
think he's been like my childhood crush ever. I've never like DM Channing Tatum, like hoping he would answer and be like, hey Channing Tatum, like I think you're awesome, because he wouldn't answer. But I don't know, maybe if like Kendall Jenner or someone did that, he'd probably answer, but yeah, I don't know. So it's a weird, but Ray is like a good way if you're in that kind of world, instead of shooting your shot on Instagram, shoot your shot on Raya. So
yeah, because they have such a closed down list. I mean, you
yes.
really got to be. I think for a woman, you have to be super super hot, and then for a man, you either have to be famous or rich.
Yeah,
Like, I
definitely.
think that's what it is. So I've always been like, I gotta get in there. I gotta see what these people look like. This is crazy because Bumble's not doing it for me.
I have not like been on Bumble or Tinder or anything, so I have nothing to compare it to. I literally got it because someone was like, "Oh yeah, like you don't have to do it for dating. You can do it for friends." And I was like, "I love friends. I love to talk to people." But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about for the parents that are listening or people that have young kids or teenage kids. Um, how do you talk to your teen about bullying? Like if they think that maybe they may be being bullied at school, they're coming home, they're in a really terrible mood, they're slamming their door, they don't want to talk because that's how we react as teens when we're uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So what's the appropriate way to handle that?
I don't think there's one set appropriate way. I think every parent, child, parent, guardian, whomever situation can be different. The dynamic is different. Obviously, parents or guardians, you know your kid better than anyone else does at the end of the day. So you think, right?
Hmm.
But with me, like my parents had noticed that I was more quiet. I was shutting the door more. I became really introverted and I was an extrovert. So it was like little subtle things. And then it was like, all right, Michaela, tell us what's wrong. And obviously as a kid, I would tell my dad, like, I told him like I'm being bullied. And he's like, well, I'm going to call their parents and rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, no, it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think communication is key. I know that's like not the end all be all answer, but really having an open, honest conversation with your kids saying, hey, if you're going through this, please talk to me about it because I can't read your mind. I don't know how you feel, but I want you to know that you're not alone. And, regardless of what happens, I am your parent first, your friend second, and I'm here to protect you. And I think, if you approach it that way, and obviously like I don't have kids, so God knows how I'll be, but ask me again in 10 years.
Yeah.
But I just think like, you know, in order to have that conversation to protect your kid, you have to be willing and upfront to say, I'm not going to judge you, but if something serious is going on, we got to deal with it, we got to address it. And obviously take things up with the schools. Unfortunately do not have the best anti-bullying policies, and they have the little vanilla folder, this is our anti-bullying policy, great, whatever, doesn't do anything. It's really about forming that relationship with your kid, figuring out who the problem child is, and figuring out either why they're like that, talking with their parents, or getting the school involved, because there's really no other way. But if you don't have that conversation, no one knows that you're struggling in silence, and that's where a lot of problems arise.
Right, absolutely. And what would be your advice to parents who think their kid's a bully, who's actually doing the bullying?
Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
True.
So if your child is a bully, you might be a bully. Maybe you treat your child like crap. Maybe you treat other people like crap, and your child is going to see that and they're going to mimic that behavior. So parents that, raise a bully and they're like, oh, that would never, it's always the parents that would say, it's never my kid, because it's 100% your kid, because they're so in denial, like, oh, I have a perfect kid, my kid could bash in the windows with a bat, and it's like, ah, whatever, like, cool, good job, like, awesome. Those are the kids that become bullies, because it's about power. And if you're giving that kid power and power and power, guess what? And if you don't give it to them, they're going to go find it somewhere else. So
That makes sense, because I mean, most of who we are is shaped before we're pretty much 7.
mhm.
Like all our self-esteem and confidence, but it's amazing how you can have the most confident child, and then they're going to school and maybe they're around people that you can't control, and everything kind of changes.
Things can definitely change. And obviously, what I've seen, and obviously, like, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but with kids that exude a lot of confidence, some are trying to make up for something else. Maybe the overly loud kid is trying to make up for the fact that he's really shy, or something of that nature. So behavior of one another, like if I could go back to high school now, oh my God, it'd be a totally different animal, because I can read behavior. So my point in that is, maybe it's not the parents that created a bully. Maybe the situation made the kid feel inferior, because maybe it was another kid that exuded more confidence, and that kid felt like he had to do something else to fit in. It's just like a weird equilibrium that is happening in the school. And it's, how do you balance that? But how do you not cross the line of, I'm going to make someone else feel small so I can feel a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a weird, but the power,
Mm.
and we see it today with grown ass old men.
Yep.
It's this power thing, and it's like, okay, having power is fine if
Mhm.
you're using it for the benefit of everybody. But if you're using it just to benefit yourself, that's where it becomes very dangerous. But yeah, you see this where it's like, when is enough enough? So it's like, what are they compensating for?
Mhm.
I had somebody I knew who had so much money but needed so much more money. I mean, enough money to never work again and live at like a king, right? But I think he might have been compensating for a smaller penis. I'm not sure, but that can happen too. Or maybe you see some of these guys that maybe were bullied and were not given the opportunity, couldn't get the girls, and then this was their way to make up for it. But it's such a mind fuck in a way, because you've got men who can be ugly and just make a lot of money and live like a king. But
Mhm.
then women have all this pressure on them, especially as you as you start to get older, you're probably going to feel it even more, because all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what the hell's showing up on my face? It's dropping,
Yeah.
Or you can't just be rich, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting if you see somebody who's super rich, not all of them, or just has to be in charge. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, something went astray for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with being super rich and successful. But if it's the need to hurt other people to stay on top, there's something there. And I know that trait must have started when they were a child.
Well, and even with very, very rich people, and I live in a very affluent area, and it's like sometimes they forget how to be human because they have so much money. Because it's like if someone is not on their level, not even same thing. Like they forget how to actually sit in a restaurant, how to converse with other people because they think they're so much better because of money. And at the end of the day, like, guess what? Your money's not going with you when you die. Like,
no.
So yeah, that's a whole other tangent I could go down. But if people want to be successful, work hard, make good money, have a heart. Like you were not born that way. You did not come out of the womb that way, and you will not die that way. So, no amount of money is going to save your life. So don't be a jerk is quite frankly where I was going to say something else, but don't be a jerk.
Yeah. You can cuss on here. It's all good. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Seriously. Amen. Like, just crazy.
I know it is an interesting psychology because obviously we need money to survive and we need money for freedom, right? And that's what we're all striving for is freedom. But a lot of us are striving for, impressing other people and keeping up with the Joneses. If you have that condition, if you feel you need to keep up with, homemaker Sally down the street or, gang banging Rebecca or whoever your neighbors are, because I have friends that live in very wealthy neighborhoods and this is the shit they deal with. Okay.
Yep.
But if you have a need to compete with her in any way and shop or buy better things that maybe you can or can't afford, like see a therapist.
Yeah.
Because there's something else going on there, but it is interesting how it really just can change people. But I know a lot of successful people who, it didn't change them. And I think it's because they fully earned it.
And that's what it should be. I mean, like my dad had nothing. Like at one point he was homeless, and it's like,
wow.
Watching him build what he has built for like me and my mom, like all of us, like, and my sense of like charity, all I was learned from him, because it was like, no matter how high he climbed, he never forgot. Like, I mean, they grew up in like an area with like dirt floors on, from Western New York like that. Like it was a poor area.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I see people that just like act like jerks, it rubs me all the wrong ways. And now you got followers and likes on side. It's just like, I don't know what this world is coming to, but it's not too great right now. So.
No. Oh, that's another thing that was in that documentary. I can't wait to hear your reactions when you watch this. There is a thing in LA. It was featured in LA. I'm sure it's elsewhere. Where
next month.
Yeah, you can go into it's like in a warehouse. It's almost like a little set. You can rent this space. I think it was $50 for an hour, maybe $100. Wasn't too expensive. Okay. And it is set up for an Instagram shot to make you look like you were on a private jet. They've got things they can change with the sky, with the sun, with the night, with city things. And you're sitting in this shitty warehouse for $100 an hour, and you're able to take photos like you're on a private jet. This is what's happening.
So I got into like the wrong field, clearly. Like I gotta go get a warehouse. Like is what I'm taking away is I need to go make a fake jet somewhere.
I know. And then they were saying like the toilet seat, if you want to do a plane. But I was like, how about this? How about just fucking live your life and stop lying? It's a lie. Like, why are we
fishing people?
Yeah, like why are we lying about this? But the thing is, it's not for you. Think that your friends that follow you, your good friends, realize that you're probably not in the Caribbean on a private jet, but instead you're putting your ear to something that somebody just put their smelly ass on? I mean, this is what's happening. It's insane.
Oh my God. Honestly. Yeah. My friends would be like, Michaela, like, have you been kidnapped? Like, what has happened? Are you okay? Like, yeah, it just not be a good look. And honestly, like, here's the whole gamut of everything is, what the hell is this telling our kids? What is this telling the 14-year-old girl that she's like, oh crap, I'm not on a private jet. I don't have a million followers. I don't have big boobs and, you know, hair extensions like Ariana Grande. Like, I don't look like that. Like, everyone's mental health is just going, I mean, the suicide numbers are going up and up, and like, they're not even published yet. And like, the conversations I have had, horrifying. Like, this should not be a thing. Like,
No.
we have created this monster, and we are indirectly killing one another by living these lies and by making other people feel if they don't meet that lie, then, you know, how many likes is my life worth? Like, again, it goes back to that. It's crazy.
So what would be your, like, how would you change it? What would you like to see? How do you feel that Instagram, or it's owned by Facebook, but all these social media companies can get involved to help? I mean, right now they're like the worst people on the planet. They have more power than the government. It's scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah, you and me both.
But like, how do they change it? And do you think if we shut their asses down, our lives would be better?
No, our lives wouldn't be better because China and everyone else would come up with something and then they would just do it. And then the scary part is like the data. I mean, granted, you know, and we all sign up for Facebook, like, we don't know, but now that the people have had it, they're going to get it wherever they want. And they're not going to read the fine print from an app from China or Russia, or not to, you know, throw any country under the bus, but like, now that the people have been exposed to it, they are going to seek it because they're like addicted. It's like being an addict. So where are you going to find it? You know? But I did an article and it was written about Instagram, and someone reached out to me and they were like, you know, in your expertise, like, what is Instagram doing to prevent bullying? And oh man, like, Instagram probably hates my guts because I went off on Instagram.
Good.
And on an article, it wasn't personally on Instagram. I put it on my Instagram because I was like, screw you, Instagram. But there is not enough blocks. You know, these companies, I have friends on like the Twitter, like that have done stuff with Twitter. I've been to Twitter. There is not, you know, they say they do enough. And there are so many different people on there. So obviously I understand you cannot stop everything, but there has to be teams solely dedicated to suicide prevention, to anti-bullying on these platforms, because it is falling through the cracks. And it's like, how can you create a platform? Like, delete the platform for a week, you know, take everyone off of it for 1 week, come back and say, this is the thing that we have implemented, or we're going to update it for a week. Like, give them a Candy Crush game to play for a week. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just, there needs to be so much more being done on these big tech firms because they own the media. They, you know, control. I mean, it's terrifying. If you look up clothes on your phone and then I go on Instagram and I'm like, how the heck? Like, it's scary. It is a scary world.
Well, they even listen to you.
Yeah.
I've been talking about something and didn't look it up at all. Never went to Google. This is a perfect example. I was at a friend's house and he was telling me, oh, see that really cool light in the corner? It like will change and create different moods, and it almost makes it like a Zen feel in here. And I literally said, oh, that's really cool. That's it. That is it. That showed up on my Instagram advertisement 2 days later. Didn't look it up. I didn't want the light. I didn't give a shit. It was cool for him. I didn't want it in my house. I don't know where I'd put it. And that was frightening because I'm like, did he even say who made it? So it is watching, and I'll try to test things. Like I'll say something like, I hate Bill Gates, or I like Bill Gates, or Fauci's a fraud, or Fauci's great, or whatever, something controversial, to try to see if something will show up, if I'll get sent, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but see, like, even the names you just dropped, gotta, like, I feel like the computer knows. They're like, but if you say something else, and I won't even get political, but like, if there are certain words that if you say, there's a bigger invoked response. And if there's other words you say, they just go under the carpet. And the same thing with social media. So, yeah.
I know. And
Scary.
it is a very scary world because you feel like you're kind of bullied. The whole bullying shit never goes away.
No. And it's like you can't even now have an opinion, which is crazy, like our First Amendment freedom of speech.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's over.
it's done. You can't have an opinion because like now it's cancel culture. If you did something 100 years ago, like everyone should be a dumb kid at some point in their life. Like, quite frankly, like you should have one thing you're like, ooh, like nothing illegal, nothing really stupid, but like you should be allowed to make a mistake and say, I apologize. I did not mean it. I did not this. But now it's like your life is over. And I don't believe
You
in
know
that.
what? I just thought of something that's genius. I don't think it'll ever be done because we live in a sick world right now. There's a lot of good in the world, but there's just a lot of evil right now. I think that social media should be banned from anyone under the age of 21.
But see how I agree, but how could you enforce that? Because even like when Facebook had that, like I had a Facebook when I was like, before they had like the age, it was like before it was 16 or something, but like I got on there. What's going to stop, you
Well,
know?
yeah, but like if you notice somebody was on there, you could report it.
True.
It would at least help pull down the volume because, you basically would just, obviously you can people that are in high school get access to alcohol.
Yeah.
You can't stop it, but at least it would help eliminate it because it would be, what are you posting for? Your friends can't be on there. Somebody's
Mm-hmm.
going to find you. It's your picture. But that could be another way to prevent kids from doing something stupid that follows them for the rest of their lives. I mean, I would use like disposable cameras in high school all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will find some of the copies, but like we did stupid shit. I mean, smoking cigarettes, making out with chicks, making out with dudes. I mean, but they were never posted and they can never be found.
You just ping, post, upload. And like, even my parents, they're like, God, we did a lot of dumb things, but you know what?
I
It was
know.
fine because it was not on these phones. We can't, I mean, even now, you see someone like get attacked in the street, first thing you do, no one calls
Yeah.
911. No one, they're like, oh, I gotta, because they want to go viral on, it's just, it is, social media, like I could talk to you for literally like 3 days about social media because like, we are desensitized to one another. We are losing
Completely.
our sense of humanity. But if you put two people down in the same room, no one knows how to maintain eye contact or have a conversation. Another thing, because we're all like used to glaring down at our phone. Like, and I understand some people struggle with making eye contact, 100% get it. But if you do not have like a reason and you can't make eye contact because it's not your screen, that's a problem. So
Oh, it's a huge problem. Yeah, people don't call on the phone. I mean, remember when you used to be, I don't know if you remember, but you could call people and people were genuinely happy to hear from you on the phone. But now it's like I have to text people to be like, "Can I call you?"
yeah, and then they're
I think
like,
I'm
it's
just going to
everything
stop
okay.
and start calling them. I might not have any friends when I'm done, but I'm just going to start calling.
You have to. I'm a big believer. Like I hate texting. I like doing the voice memos. Like a lot of my friends, I will just like send straight
Yeah.
voice memos. Because I'm like, even when I speak text, like my boyfriend yells at me. He's like, "Can you stop speak texting into your phone?" I'm like, I don't want to like sit here and be like I'd rather just send.
Hey, and you know what? That is a great thing because you're with your boyfriend or with whoever. It's a
Yeah.
quicker way to just get it out. It would take more time away from that person if you were, typing the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
I hope he.
yeah. So what's next for you? I feel like you just have such a bright future.
I hope so. God willing.
You do. Believe it.
I'm trying, I'm trying. I'm really excited about something. So I got this little moon man sitting on my desk and he's like meditating on the moon. And I'm like, that's going to be me in a few years, hopefully,
Oh,
at
I
Elon
love that.
on me to the moon.
Yeah.
My foundation is sending photos of bullied kids to the moon so no one can look down at them again. And the whole concept this is happening this year, 2021.
That
Tentative
is
date.
so cool.
I'm so excited. Like I knew nothing about space, and like even like right there, I got this little kid holding a moon thing,
Yeah.
but it was during COVID, and I was donated these 2 space contracts, and I'm like, what do I do with these 2 space contracts? And then we have like this micro SD card, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start a campaign to collect photos of bully kids or people who have lost their child to suicide or mental health or what have you, and send their memory up to the moon. So maybe, if someone's like outside, like thinking of the worst, and they look up, they're like, oh my God, like my memory's up there. Like I'm up there. No one can make me feel small because I'm up there. Or a grieving parent might look up and be like, my kid's up there, like I can talk and look up at them, and I think that's beautiful.
That is
So
amazing.
thank you. Yeah, it's funny. It is so funny how that works. So yeah, we're gonna go to the moon. So that's happening this year. It's gonna be live streams, and then I would love to go to Mars, and I would love to personally go at some point. Not yet. I hate flying. So maybe. Would never say no. But yes, we got that. We're working on building a mobile app, kind of like correlating the space theme with the bullying theme. And I'm going to be pitching my podcast series as a pilot television show. So hopefully that gets picked up somewhere. So that's really what I'm working on.
So awesome.
Yeah. So it's a lot. It's good though.
Yeah. And so the pilot show would be like a reality type talk show
So
thing?
I've found that, the podcast I started, Blatantly Honest with Michaela Nichols, doing great. Listened to in over 35 countries, to bring on different like celebrities, interview them, talk about, how they overcame bullying, body image, sexual assault, blah, blah, blah. We talk about it, they went through their really dark point. They still became successful. I want to have a show like that where we can sit down in an intimate way, studio, and have like an audience full of people that have either experienced some kind of trauma, and then they can come up and share their story. So you get the celebrity that maybe they look up to them, and then you get everyday person showing that doesn't matter who you are, this impacts and affects all of us. And I think all these streaming channels need more content like that, because they have way too much fake shit out there, and it is wrong, and it is not okay. And I mean, even 13 Reasons Why, that show, I know they tried so hard. So if anyone was on that show, like, I know they tried, but I mean, the suicide numbers went up after that show came out, because it like kind of glorified it in a way. And that broke my heart. And I was like,
I remember hearing all that drama. I didn't watch it because I kept hearing the negative, and I was like, I don't want to see this.
I think you should watch it, just because I think it would like just kind of wake you up to that, like, holy crap. Like, if I wasn't mentally okay with myself and I watched that show, I would not be okay. I even struggled to like watch it at points. So like, that stuff needs to be addressed, don't get me wrong, but it's like, how do we do it in a way that isn't just like down, 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 down? Like, there's down, more importantly, I overcame it, and there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. That needs to be on the air today.
Thanks. Yeah. Maybe someone will hear this and be like, yes, let's do it. So I'm working on that real hard, because I believe in it, and I feel like God made me go through all this for a reason. And
so you could make a difference and help other people. That's really what we're all here for, is to use our gift to help the greater good. Definitely. So God bless you. I mean, you're an amazing, I'm just like in awe of you. I'm like, oh my God, like, you're beautiful, you're smart, you've got a heart of gold. I just think it is so cool. Now, my last question is, why can't you get on the spaceship to go to the moon when they deliver the pictures this year?
So it's a great question. This is a little space jargon for you. So NASA is like doing a bunch of stuff. So their goal is to have humans to the moon by 2024. In order to do that, they have to have you can't just be like, oh, we're going to send the people, right? Because there's nothing there. So no one's been back to the moon since Apollo, but they're going to be sending like different supplies and different rovers and landers. So our chip, which I have like a mock capsule of what it would look like, is gonna, and I dropped it. Our chip is going to be in this capsule, and it's going to be in something called like a lander. I know you can't see this.
Yeah. Okay.
So the lander is going to land on the surface of the moon and stay there. So there's no people on this mission. It's basically just supplies. So they're going to be sending supplies every year. So we're going up on a United Launch Alliance rocket. This chip is going to be an Astrobotics Peregrine lander. My contract's with a company called Celestis. So it's like all these companies work together to make this possible. And space,
That is
and
awesome.
that is how we're going to save our planet, because if you can get all these different space guys working together, like it does not matter what country you're from, what you look like, what, color, ethnicity, anything, age, gender, sex, whatever, it does not matter up there, because you have to rely on one another. And I think that is a beautiful thing. So I wish I could be
Yes.
going up there, but I would be by myself. I would just be with a bunch of robots, quite frankly. So probably wouldn't last too long, but maybe the next time, maybe, when they start doing more civilian flights, I would love to train and go and just inspire kids that, thought that life wouldn't get any better, that it can, and that you can literally go out of this world. So.
And it's so cool. And I think the great thing about space is that there's so much we don't know. And it also puts into perspective just how small we are in this infinite universe, and that your problems you may have may not be as big as you're making them, because we are just like a dot in this massive thing. So that's what space always reminds me of, is don't take shit too seriously.
Yeah,
Because it really doesn't matter, because you're just a speck here for a second, like of time, in a way it feels like, and enjoy it.
Yeah. And the aliens are definitely laughing at us, because I'm telling you, they're probably sitting God knows where. And they're like, God, look at, we're probably like the little ant farm to them, who knows? Maybe.
I always thought with aliens, like, because obviously I believe that we are not the only creatures in this universe, but I always thought, for some reason, I don't know if other people do, maybe it's the images we've seen and the UFO images, but I think that they're light years ahead of us, meaning advanced.
Yes.
And we are way behind everything. And so it's like we have to catch up to them. Like, I don't think they're behind us. I think, yeah, you're right. We are like an ant farm. They're well, I did read something about some Israeli. Did you see that about that retired Israeli scientist, I think it was? And he said, I'm retired. I have nothing to lose. I'm old. Like, I don't care. But he was saying that, yes, aliens are absolutely real. They're in contact with the U.S. government. There's army people or people in the military living with the aliens on bases on different planets already. And the aliens were going to come here. Some have already come, unidentified, but they said, they called the president and just said, please don't tell humanity about us. They are not ready. And we are scared of what the aftermath will be. You got to look this up. It was the most unbelievable thing. And then all of a sudden, the government's just releasing all this UFO shit. Like, oh yeah, UFOs exist. And then just moved right along. Like, they're verified. They're real. There's government documents. There's all this declassified information. And nobody has blinked an eye. Nobody has thought, hey, this COVID shit sucks. If I can't make it to Florida, maybe I'll go to Mars.
I honest to God, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to look that up, because that doesn't surprise me. And that man's probably, I hope he's okay, because I feel like someone is probably like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But you have to look that up, especially since you seem to really like space, because it might be interesting to reach out to him.
He would be an awesome podcast thing, or just to talk to him and be like, listen, man, you're onto something, because I agree.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I know we have to wrap up, so tell everybody where they can find you. Podcast, book, foundation, you name it.
Oh gosh, well, let's start with social media. I post really good content.
Yay, good content.
But yeah, good, motivational. So that's just at Michaela Nichols. My foundation is Blatantly Honest Foundation, so you can visit blatantlyhonest.org. My personal website, Michaela Nichols. I'll spell that one time just in case anyone's listening, like, I don't know, but I'm sure you'll have it. So it's Aila, and then Nichols, Nichols. And a new podcast comes out every Monday on Apple, wherever you stream your podcast, it will be there. Blatantly Honest with Michaela Nichols. So.
Well, that is great. Yeah. And if you guys are listening and have kids, or you're being bullied yourself, definitely check out that podcast, because she's talking to a lot of amazing people that maybe your child can listen to too, to help them get through the tough time that they're going through. But not trying to sound like Ellen DeGeneres, because she apparently was a bully, but be kind, be nice to each other.
Right. Dang it.
I had to end on that note. I'm like, wait, because she always said be kind, and then she was like a total a-hole apparently. But again, I don't know the ins and outs of that story, so I'm not going to make a prejudgment until I know myself. And that's what people need to do. They need to stop judging people by what they hear and actually do the research, because the news isn't the truth. The facts are found elsewhere. That's all I'm going to say.
Fake news. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and this was such an honor. And you guys listening wherever you are, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Next to Madison, and we'll see you next time to find out who's next. Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.